Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is June 27th. Today's episode is going to cover some news about on-chain voting. We're going to be talking about RPL airdrop that went out. We're going to be talking about paradigms, ideas for staking on Ethereum. We're going to be talking about node distribution, a whole bunch of other really exciting things. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so we're going to start here with this protocol announcement from Langers that went out yesterday evening, and he said, "Hey everyone, attention protocol DAO delegates. We'll be releasing the instructions to initialize on-chain voting on Monday to ensure that node operators do not waste gas delegating to the wrong address. We will be temporarily hiding delegates that have not provided and confirmed their delegation, which is their node address. To make sure that you are visible on the delegate page, please provide us with your delegation node address by the end of the week. Many thanks, Rocket Pool." So of course, you know that there's a delegates website, and on here everyone who's a delegate has an address, as you can see, and there were some issues with these addresses, and what's happening is that people have been asked to update these to make sure that they reflect the correct numbers. So if you are going to delegate votes, make sure that you are, if you are expecting people to delegate votes to you, make sure that you have the addresses set up correctly and everything looking good, because otherwise things might not be good. So this is actually really interesting that I'm down to 0 votes, when as in the last snapshot I think I was the number 1 most delegated to person. So that'll need to be fixed. But otherwise it looks like some of the Waldorf's votes have gone to 0, and some others have gone to 0 and some haven't gone to 0. So it looks like there's still some things that need to be ironed out and fixed in this, which is why I guess the team will get that information out on Monday. So if you want people to delegate votes to you, make sure that you go to the governance thread and in the Rocket Pool Discord and provide your address. So that is a thread that's called website feedback under governance, and there's discussion going on. So one of the things, like we're talking about, like doxing the node, and the like Waldorf made some interesting points the other day about people not wanting to dox their node and etc. And Langer said that these are 4 fair points and they'll support voting from the website. So they're doing some really cool stuff here. Schifrin updated his node, Dookie updated his node, Doofus updated his node, O4B updated their node as well. So there's a whole lot of people that have kind of stepped up to that, and I think some of them will be getting like a nice amount of votes delegated to them, and of course I'm one of those delegates as well, and you're welcome to delegate to me. Okay, Invis shared this transaction on Etherscan yesterday saying RPL airdrop. Now, what's an RPL airdrop? Of course, we know that there's no RPL airdrops happening. However, if you look at this transaction, you'll see that 7,760 RPL went to 97 addresses through Disperse app. So the way that worked is, the person entered those addresses into Disperse, put 80 RPL for each of those addresses and send them out. Some of these addresses are ones that we know fairly well, like, from people in the community, like Wo and Viz got some, and some are just like addresses that we don't know much about. So people are just really curious about like what had actually happened here, right? Like, why did this person send hundreds of thousands of dollars of RPL to 97 people? So speculation was kind of running rampant. People saying like, what's that from? What's going on over here? Wo said it's the RPL benefactor saying hi mom, but as far as I know, it wasn't the RPL benefactor who did it this time. And there was some stuff going on. So as a little bit of time went on, Nixo actually was one of the first people to kind of figure out what had happened. And she shared this POAP. So it's collectors.poap.xyz. And the people who got this POAP were the people who got the RPL. So they're this was a POAP for the Kiln Ethereum merge testnet. So this is going back a couple of years now, where from June 20th, 2022. So yeah, 2 years pretty much exactly. So it says Kiln was the second major public testnet on Ethereum. The merge happened on Kiln on March 15th, 2022. Holders of this POAP actively engaged in testing the merge and created a validator setup on Kiln and validated long enough to propose a block. And the POAP art was by Pedro. And this looks like it says, I validated on Kiln long enough to propose a block. And then there's a Kiln testnet thing. So these people who got the testnet, who got the POAP, then got an airdrop. Now, if we have a look at this tweet from Fizz, it's actually really cool. So he says, 2 years ago, I created a video suggesting that people use POAP and disperse to reward communities. Someone sent every holder of the Kiln testnet POAP $1,700 in RPL tokens. This is so cool. So this is actually amazing, and I really love this idea also because I have a lot of POAPs. I didn't have this one, sadly, so I didn't get this airdrop, but this idea is absolutely wonderful, that people who actually like turn up, do something, are present for something happening, whether that's a testnet, whether that's a community call, whether that's being around for some event. Eventually someone might look at that and be like, you know what, this cohort of people are pretty cool. They were around early on, they were doing something really exciting. Let me give them some tokens. And it seems like that's what happened here. We don't have the full understanding of like why the person did it, but I guess they just wanted to give out some RPL, which is really, really amazing of them. So congrats if you were one of the around 100 people to get that the airdrop. But this was actually a really nice little story coming out of the Rocket Pool community yesterday. Okay, next we have this issue that came up in support, and Yorick kind of got down to the bottom of it. It seemed like there were a bunch of people who were failing their auto-prune, and it wasn't working properly on Nethermind, I believe. And what had happened is that there's been a parameter change, and it meant that there wasn't enough space left. So here Yorick is kind of explaining it. He says, this is what I'm using plus the restart parameter. And it says the key is that it means 32 gigabyte of RAM. The threshold MB is 350 gigabytes, high enough that pruning can take a while, and Nethermind and the consensus layer continue to eat space without pruning failing. 300 gigabytes should work in most cases, but it's 40 to 30 gigabytes away from not enough space, and that makes me nervous. It says Rocket Pool sets 307,200 threshold. Let's do the math. That's 286 gigabytes. Dudes, no wonder you have this failing for users. So what basically happened is one of the parameters that was set for the pruning is the amount of space that you need, right, for your system to kind of do its thing. And what happened is there wasn't enough space left. It should have been about 350 gigabytes or at least 300, but the system was set at 286 gigabytes, was not enough. So he says that's causing the issue. And then here we got the code where the unit changed from 375,809 megabytes. So 375, I'm not good, like 350 gig basically, and then it went down to 286 gig. So you can see that was the change that happened. So hopefully in the next version of the smart node, that can be fixed. And then people who are on Nethermind and they've had issues with auto pruning shouldn't have that issue anymore. So really cool of Yorick to figure that out. Okay, Ramana here asked a question yesterday because we got the new version of the smart node, and he said, are we still doing POAPs for smart node releases? And I tagged Shifrin because he's the one who normally is in charge of that, and I said I haven't seen one in a while. I've kind of stopped updating my smart node since there's no POAP anymore. And Ramana says that makes sense, and Iceland Calling says here. I guess it makes sense to them as well. Dr. Doofa says I've been reverting to earlier versions since there's not a POAP anymore. Shifrin says if this message gets 18 emojis, I'll do a POAP for the next one. And then it got a whole lot of emojis there, which is really cool. So then what happened is Schifrin did a POAP for 1.13.6. So if you have updated to the latest version, take a screenshot of your version screen output and share it here, so you'll get a POAP. So there's like at least 30 or 40 people I think who have submitted their images, which is really cool. So good job for those people, and I am also one of those people. So I want to be getting my POAP soon. And one of the things I noticed is that the majority of people who submitted their screenshots are actually using Nethermind, which is actually very, very interesting. I'm surprised that there's not more Bisu users, but that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on, especially now with rETH coming through. The good thing is there was only a couple of people who were using gETH, and they could kind of explain away why they were using gETH, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. Okay, here we had some whale activity of a person moving around a whole lot of rETH. So here there was a large rETH transfer moving from Balancer Vault to a wallet, and then here it transferred from Aave Ethereum to a wallet as well. And it looked like there was a whole bunch of like stuff happening with rETH here, and people were trying to figure out what was going on, and I didn't fully get to the bottom of it, but it seems like there was some ARB happening. So Jasper says it was a mega ARB, and during the process of the ARB, they borrowed 100 million DAI as well. And Jasper shared the screenshot of the Etherscan, but I didn't really know what I was looking at there either, I'll be honest. But it looks like they basically moved around all the rETH to make a 0.4 ETH gain. So yeah, Jasper says all that for 0.4 ETH. And he says, I'm non-fungible Yoakum says, if I'm understanding it right, they arbed the rETH wrapped ETH pool and the rETH ETH pool, but why did they borrow $100 million is beyond me. So they did a flash loan for that. So I thought it was an interesting little bit of on-chain activity, but I guess all of that for just over $1,000 is fair enough, I guess. Okay, Flat Money, I've been mentioning them a lot recently, and they are in the process of putting out this base education series alongside Rocket Pool. And they said today we're highlighting Balancer and its place within the rETH ecosystem on Base. So, these guys are really pushing rETH on Base. They're doing some really cool stuff with that. So they explain in Balancer here how it's an AMM pool. And Balancer, of course, for those of you who don't know, is one of the pools that the IMC deals with the most, and that's where the deepest liquidity for rETH is on various balancer pools. So here they kind of explain what a balancer pool is, how they have weighted pools, composable stable pools. It says the wETH, the wrapped ETH, rETH balancer pool and Base is composable stable pool, and most trade volume is routed through this pool, as it often provides the best rate for rETH swaps. And then they go on over here and explain how it holds millions of dollars in crypto, and how there's increased liquidity as well, and how all that works. And then they explain how they give RPL to incentives for rETH, DeFi, and Base. So they've got RPL incentives for that. So if you're interested in how Balancer works, definitely go and check that out. And Balancer, of course, is something that the IMC really enjoys using. So really great job by Flat Money to get these all this information out and promoting rETH on Base. So one of the things that's happened then is people are wondering, why put rETH on Base? So Socash here says Base belongs to Coinbase, right? And Coinbase has its own staking token, cbETH. So no way rETH will do better than cbETH on Base. And then Jasper says rETH has properties that make it more attractive than cbETH, especially in DeFi. Many people will probably hold both. Also, rising tides lift all boats. Base is exploding with users. cbETH has no one to pay for liquidity incentives on it, which is a massive limitation for adoption. And then Brave New DeFi kind of says, I don't think that's true. rETH already has a larger market cap than cbETH. And as Base onboards more people, there's a greater chance to onboard people to rETH if there's a strong Rocket Pool presence on Base. Growing liquidity and increasing rETH integrations and protocols on Base makes this more likely. The more you can do with an LST, the greater value prop people see in holding it, to be honest. And this is Brave New DeFi, who works with Flat Money. And then Jasper says there's worse DeFi, higher fees, less liquid, more risky. Why hold it? And we're talking about CBETH users, so people already are on chain. So they've just got a much better reasoning for people who are on chain to hold rETH instead. And Brave New DeFi says, I don't think anyone's in a server anywhere talking about how great CBETH is. No community there. I think that's a big benefit of being in the Rocket Pool community as an rETH holder. So here, Sokash says, with gas at 1 Gwei, what's the main reason to use L2 and not L1? How long does it take to bridge from base back to L1 if I need my rETH in a hurry? And then Jasper says, in the worst case scenario, it's a week. Of course, you can use a fast bridge. I think Hop might have that set up on base, in which, yeah, and then Jasper says on normal day, it's almost instantly with a fast bridge. And then Sokash says, no way I'm keeping anything on base, just no way. And then the idea is that all optimistic rollups currently have limitations. There's a mandatory 1 week limit for fraud proofs before you can exit. And then ZK rollups obviously don't have that same limitation in the same way. And then Brave New DeFi says that gas isn't always going to be in the single digits. We put out the thread for bridges last week, so there's information about what bridges you can use. So definitely have a look at bridging your rETH across the base, because every day there's more and more exciting stuff you can do with that. Okay, next we're moving on to some general staking news and a bit of drama that kind of broke out yesterday on crypto Twitter. So here, Charlie Noyes, who works in investing and research at Paradigm, has an idea of what he thinks Ethereum Layer 1 should do. And he says, make Layer 1 more hospitable for applications. Max EB will drop the validator count a lot. Then with that, you can raise the gas limit substantially and make the block time shorter. Instead of 12 seconds, make it quicker. And then he says, use maximum data availability, so fix blob pricing and gossiping, scale blobs and get pure DAS ASAP, and then stabilize MEV, and that's FOCIL. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for. And then maybe ePBS, which is enshrined PBS, which is proposer builder separation happening at the protocol level instead of through software like MEV Boost. Now, this was kind of controversial, and I'll get to that in a second, but Charlie says this means recognizing that solo staking is not sustainable. Timing games aren't a big deal or urgent. And the dominant form of MEV is LVR, which is sublinear and block time. So cutting block times will actually make the situation better and deprioritizing other stuff. And he says, I should have specified sublinear in shorter block times, i.e. it falls faster than the block time. So the main thing that people really got on top of here is that solo staking is not sustainable. One of the first people to respond was Jasper, saying, how do you do this without radically centralizing the operator set, namely block time and gas limit? The current roadmap seems like it's the only way to do this. And he says it's going to keep happening anyway. Max EB is the least controversial initial change. Long-term SSF already implicitly accepts, and Rainbow Staking responds to the reality that solo staking is simply not sustainable. Smaller, still big value set is fine. So there's then there was fallout from this. So the discussion went to the Rocket Pool Discord, as Jasper kind of tweeted it there. And he says Paradigm wants to centralize Ethereum and isn't even coy about it anymore. And then the discussion started about how, this makes sense from a TradFi perspective. Like, you can start to tokenize like future block production and stuff. And then Jasper says, Fizz, it would be cool to see you respond to defend home staking in the above Paradigm thread. No pressure though if you don't want to get involved. And then what ended up actually happening was Jasper went all guns blazing first, and he said, Ethereum by Paradigm, you can't take my node, fork off or join Solana. So this was about, getting rid of solo staking. Mer replied saying, that seems familiar. Mer, of course, is a person who's a developer in the Solana ecosystem. People responded, including Toli, who is the founder of Solana. He says, it's not all bad in the Fire Nation. There's a community pool. And Jasper says, I've enjoyed swimming in the pool. I met some cool folks. I'm not a big I'm not a big fan of the water slide you all have, but I respect the ingenuity and unique approach. He says, I think it would be silly for my pool to copy it when it's always better to have 2 different slides, and totally responded by fist up. And then people like saying, if you want a data center EVM chain, then you can just use AVAX, which is already doing that. You can use SVM instead. Nick Sway said this would be the end of Ethereum. LRT Intern says solo staking is vital. So people were responding really strongly. Nixo then, of course, responded. She's I think the managing person of she does all the management of ETH Staker, basically, for those of you who don't know. And it says decentralization is the key feature of blockchains. The purpose of the majority of research proposals right now is to maintain that decentralization. If you're advocating for sacrificing it for efficiency, that's probably because you expect to be on the winning end of that centralization, which of course is totally accurate. Nixo says this is extremely hostile towards the value of Ethereum as a sufficiently decentralized blockchain, and should be massive red flag for anyone considering Paradigm's endgame here. Jasper says these are unbelievable scenes. So this is something that I think looks like it might be heading towards like some kind of Ethereum version of the block size wars, where we have people shilling maximum throughput for Ethereum, at the cost of some decentralization, and other people wanting to remain maximally decentralized. Of course, I'm on Rocket Fuel, I'm part of the Rocket Pool community. You all know that we are decentralization maximalists, and that will be my position going forward unless I see something incredibly compelling coming out from the other camp. Okay, and then here we got a discussion basically going on about Paradigm and how Paradigm kind of forked code of Akula, and how they that was actually Aragon. So there was some drama basically about execution clients, and those of you who don't know, like Paradigm is actually running the rETH execution client, which is the new one that we talked about in yesterday's show that went to version 1.0. So it might be that they're trying to get rETH maximally like optimized for this new kind of Ethereum. I guess rETH won't be one of those execution clients that is optimizing for home staking and those kind of things. But here there was a discussion kind of going on in trading about rETH and some of the other execution client. So definitely check that out. Read this conversation if you want to get more information. Okay, and then here going back to Charlie's tweet, Charlie was putting out other tweets about based rollups. Basically, like Tycho, the idea that is we have with base rollups is that they send their sequencing to layer 1. And Charlie says it's unclear that any rollups want to be based. It feels like a lot of the protocol research roadmap is being conformed around enabling based rollups. I question whether we should be doing that. It seems like a ton of trade-offs for maybe little to no gain. And Hani Abu responds by saying, of course you think that Paradigm's investments depend on it. So this again is kind of saying that Paradigm are thinking for their own gains first, and they're trying to change Ethereum for their own benefit. And it's something that we should be really careful of, and something that we as home stakers should resist, because home stakers are the lifeblood of Ethereum, and we need to get more home stakers online, not make it more difficult for home stakers to operate. Okay, next we've got this tweet coming out from Soyspoke, and they said that excited to share the outcome of ROP8, geographical distribution of Ethereum validators. So here they have a heat map of the world with the different locations of where validators are, and what you see is that there's a whole bunch of validators in like the northern Pacific, northwestern Pacific area of the US, and you have it in like California, and then a whole thing on like the east coast of the US. Then most of Central Europe and Northern Europe is kind of, well, not Northern Europe specifically, but like a big swath of Central Europe and Western Europe is covered. And then there's like, it looks like Italy and maybe Finland. And then after that, you have places in Japan, looks like North Korea and Singapore and maybe that's China, some of China as well, where you have, and Australia, so southeastern Australia as well. So these look like the hot spots of where node operators are in Ethereum, and then there's a whole lot of blue spots pretty much all around the world, like and a lot in the US and Europe. Not many in Africa, sadly, not many in South Asia, but some in South America, and a whole bunch are in East Asia as well. So Nixo put a tweet out about this saying, for context, it's much easier to estimate node distribution, but not every node is a validator. This is the first estimate of validator geographical distribution, and it looks so healthy. Awesome to see. Great work, Chainbound. So this was really great stuff that came out of here. Now I can kind of dox myself and say that I'm in one of those red hubs and my validators are in one of those red hubs, but that's fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. The fact that we have 7 or 8 red areas is fantastic. I really hope that we get more in South America, more in Africa, more in South Asia. I think all of that would be really, really cool. Jasper asked a question here, says, is there any way to look at just rocket pool validators? And then the reply was, unfortunately not. This project has no way to differentiate individual validators, which would be necessary to identify different staking protocols. It just looks at P2P footprints on beacon nodes, which are the same for everyone. So it says follow up research with more granular geolocation strategies that could differentiate individual validators would be able to do this though. So that would actually be really exciting to see, because I want to see where all the rocket pool node operators are. Okay, next we've got some news out of NodeSet. So we all know that they partnership with with Gravitar on Stakewise started. Well, their first validators went online and they started testing. So here we have success. So that's 8 validators here, or 9 that went online, and great job to the blessed node operators. So Nick here says this is a huge day for NodeSet and NodeSet operator community. Thank you all. Rocket Doc is hopeful, saying now the floodgates will open. People will see that NodeSet is a place where you can come and run your node services, and that would be really cool. So a whole lot of people were really supportive of this and kind of sharing their logs and their activities and stuff. And Gravitar have already gotten the word out, and NodeSet is getting the word out as well. I love it. So NodeSet says, we're excited to announce the launch of rETH, a bespoke LST built in partnership with Gravitar and Stakewise. So let's have a look at their tweet and see what they're saying. And here there's an article about it as well. So you can click on that if you want, but they're saying that starting now, users can mint rETH or Stakewise OS ETH from this vault. Stakewise OS ETH offers integrations across DeFi ecosystem with Aave, Balancer, Eigenlayer, etc., while rETH holders can expect unique benefits from Gravitar soon. Gravitar enables LST holders to borrow against their assets for a one-time fee and currently supports the Ethereum mainnet along with half a dozen L2s. This vault stakes ETH by non-custodially distributing assets among the hundreds of high-quality node operators in the NodeSet community. Why put all your ETH in one basket when you can distribute it instead? It says, please note for a couple of days the APR may not be accurately reflected on the UI due to the ongoing ramping of validators. This will start earning beacon chain and MEV rewards when fully operational, and then you can mint the rETH right now. So this is actually really, really great news. So congratulations to NodeSet, congratulations to Gravitar, congratulations to Stakewise as well. I'm really hoping that we get those node operators earning some decent cash from this. Good stuff, guys. Okay, next we have some insider news coming out of the US. So here, US regulators are saying that the spot ETFs would launch before July 4th. So July 4th, of course, is a public holiday in the US, and the stock market is closed on that date. So it looks like July 2nd, July 3rd might be those dates that we're looking at, which is next week. So I expect there to be some news coming out of the SEC today, potentially more likely tomorrow, saying that everything's been approved and the ETH spot ETFs are ready to start trading, and then they'll start trading on next week, which is really exciting. And then we have this article as well of Reuters saying US regulators could approve spot Ether ETFs for launch by July 4th, sources say. So of course by July 4th is public holiday, like I just said. So if you want to read this Reuters article, you can go and have a look. But the SEC of course have declined to comment, and there's good stuff happening. So if you are waiting for the ETF to start trading, hopefully it'll be soon. Okay, Bitwise, I've covered them a couple of times. They are one of the ETF applicants, and their ETF will be launching soon. And they've been putting out these ads, where there's like a person representing Ethereum, and he's a kind of like young and cool, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and then there's a guy representing big finance, and he's wearing like a suit and like doing all sorts of like boomery stuff. Anyway, in this latest ad, the big finance guy wears a blockchain t-shirt with an Ethereum cap and carrying a pudgy penguin stuffed animal, and starts like trying to speak in crypto jargon. And I think this is actually really funny that Bitwise put this out, because they are a big finance institution, and for them to be putting out an ad, calling themselves kind of like hello fellow kids kind of stuff, is pretty funny. So I really like this series of ads. This was actually my favorite in the series. I think it's just really funny. So great job, Bitwise. I guess they'll be launching next week. They'll be giving a chunk of their income to the Protocol Guild, which of course is really awesome to see. Yeah, more power to these guys. I hope they rake in billions and billions of dollars of assets. Okay, finally, we're going to finish with some other ETF news, and this is about Solana. So 2 days in a row I'm covering Solana news. Who would have thought it? Anyway, here, the block report breaking story saying VanEck filed for a Solana ETF in the US, claiming SOL is a commodity. So, of course, for those of you who've been following along, Solana was listed in the Coinbase lawsuit, the SEC has against them, saying that they are trading unregistered securities. One of the assets that they mentioned by name is Solana. So it looks like there's going to be some heads butted over this. One of the things that we should actually, let's look at some of the analysis. I mean, I can share my ideas. So here we have Matthew from VanEck saying, I'm excited to announce VanEck just filed the first Solana exchange traded fund in the US. Some thoughts on why we believe SOL is a commodity below. So they basically said that we believe the SOL native token functions similarly to other digital commodities such as Bitcoin and ETH. It's utilized to pay for transaction fees and computational services on blockchain. Like Ether on the Ethereum network, SOL can be traded on digital asset platforms or used in peer-to-peer transactions, and then kind of talking about other stuff as well. So they've put it out. So this is really interesting. Now you might be thinking, is this going to go through? What's going to happen? Well, we will come to that in a second. Well, here Scott Johnson says, Sol bags just got a bigger election outcome catalyst, not great for Biden at the margins. This is probably the smart move to push this forward now, though it definitely doesn't satisfy the current regime's tests. That said, you have a 60% plus chance of new admin and or other current admin getting scared straight through this election, that they loosen things considerably. Probably unlikely with Gensler though. He says, I like to see a 19B filing to get the clock started. So this is what's happening now. What's basically the idea is that that the Ethereum ETF of course has gone through, and now you need, this process takes 240 days if it's run the clock. So by putting this application, they're starting the clock, and the idea is that basically in November the Democrats are going to lose the election, and if they lose the election, then the Republicans are going to come in and approve this. So VanEck are kind of getting like their foot in the door. They're trying to get ahead of any regime change that happens in November in the US by getting their paperwork submitted now and kind of hoping that things work out for them. Now, the idea, of course, was that, you need a commodities listing first with the futures stuff, which is what Ethereum had for a while and Bitcoin had for years. And then after that, you show correlation between that and spot price, blah, 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 and all that kind of good stuff. Well, the idea was that would be kind of the test going forwards, which is why other tokens aren't likely to get ETF listings. Now with changes, regulatory changes that could happen, or admin changes that could all go out of the window. And that's, I think, what Van Eck are kind of banking on here, is that, you know, it's worth a chance. Like, I don't know if they expect it to be approved or not, but they think the odds are worth it, that they can just put this document in and see what happens with what's going to potentially happen in November. So I think it's a very smart move by Van Eck here. They've got literally nothing to lose by submitting this now. And they've got a lot to gain by it. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And here Fubar actually has a take that I'm quite supportive of. He says the BTC ETF got approved on the final January deadline day after the judge ruled the SEC acted arbitrarily and capriciously in previous denial. The ETH ETF got approved in final May deadline via a combo of strong correlation on existing futures ETFs and political pressure. SOL has no futures ETF nor the correlation history, so approval here will be purely political pressure. Obviously, that's not happening with Biden and Gensler, but under a Trump presidency, Hester Pierce, the SEC chair, could see a wave of new assets go through. He said, I'm happy to see it. No asset should thrive by building up a regulatory moat. May the best protocols win. And that's the line that I actually support. Like, I'm not here, you know, to try to get the SEC to restrict other protocols just to like pump my bags. Like, if your protocol is the best, then more power to you. Like, you know, you'll win in the marketplace of ideas, as they say, right? And I think, of course, Ethereum is the one to do that. If other people think Solana is the one to do that, then I'm totally okay with them fighting out on equal footing. Of course, I think that, you know, the headwinds for Solana getting this approved are much stronger than what Ethereum had, which was stronger than what Bitcoin had. So they've got an uphill battle, but this is definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I think, sadly, you know, you'll see some co-op takes coming from some ETH people. And I think that's a bad perspective to have. Let's see how it plays out. Like, you know, I'm not going to be here cheering on the SEC, let's just say. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.